When we talk about validity, what we're really asking is this accurate? Or specifically in research, is this study or test actually measuring what it's supposed to measure? Because if something isn't measuring the thing it's supposed to measure, it's not very useful. Let me give you a quick everyday example. Imagine someone says, I really care about you, and then they actually show it through their actions. They check in on you, they help you out, they're kind. What they say matches what they do. So in that sense, what they're saying is valid. Their words actually reflect reality. Now, let's think about the concept of validity applied to psychological research. For example, let's say researchers design something called a compatibility test to predict how well two people will get along. If that test generally measures how compatible two people are, not just whether they like the same hobbies or whether they find each other attractive, then we'd say it has high validity, because basically the test is measuring what it claims to measure. That's validity in a nutshell. Validity can be split into two main types, internal and external. Internal validity is all about what's happening inside the study. It's asking, did the independent variable actually affect the dependent variable? If we can be pretty confident that it did, then internal validity is high. This usually happens when extraneous variables, things that might interfere, are kept to a minimum. A classic example would be a lab experiment, in which it is easier to control various variables such as temperature, light, setup, etc. So researchers can be more confident of changes in the dependent variable being due to the independent variable. External validity is about whether the findings can be generalized beyond the study. Here a few common subtypes. Ecological validity looks at whether the results from a study can apply to real-life situations. So if a study takes place in a really natural, realistic setting, say an observation of children at school, then we'd say it has high ecological validity. Population validity is about people. Can we generalize the findings from the sample in the study to the wider target population? That's higher when the sample is big and representative. For example, if researchers want to generalize findings from a study on shift work to different professions, they shouldn't just study nurses. They should also include other shift-based workers. And temporal validity looks at whether findings from one time period can be applied to another time period. For instance, if a study on social behavior was done in the 1950s, would those findings still hold up today? If so, then it would have high temporal validity.